All right, it's going. So just whenever.
So I'm going to do both JSON parse, stringify, and XML HTTP request. So starting off with JSON parse, and it occurred to me, you guys know what JSON is, or a JSON file?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and make sure you have background on that. So it's not too bad. A JSON parse is just a common way, like it says, to use a JSON file to exchange data. And so to parse it is to, using this example here, to convert text into an object. So you can take a text file and turn it into an object that your JavaScript can use. And so this lays it out pretty easy. This is what the text file would look like. So it needs to be set up in a way that you know how to deal with it. And then it'll just you can just make an object out of it, and then you can call it. So if you have like a div or something or anything like that, then you can call it to that object and display it and stuff. So I kind of have that laid out here. Does that kind of make sense for a parse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So stringify is the exact opposite, basically. It's basically doing the same thing, but you're instead going to do an object and turn it into a text file. So go back here. I put a link in here, so I know you guys' presentation. If you guys want to know how to do this, you can click on this link here. And then I went through W3 schools, so it's pretty straightforward. But
Cool.
They did the same thing here where they had an object, and then you just stringify, and then it does it for you. So pretty easy, and then you can turn them into that. So I didn't realize it, but at least in JavaScript, you can only talk between the server with text files. So JSON files are really important. I've been using them. I didn't even know that. So, but it's good to know how to use this. Sorry. So that was just JSON parse and stringify. Those are pretty easy. You just do those commands, and the W3 school links has everything you need to know about them. An XML HTTP request. Do you guys know much about XML at all, or have you used it much? It's kind of obscure. I've touched on it a little bit. You're pretty much either going to use it or you're never going to use it. It's kind of like hit or miss, depending if your job wants you to use it. But XML HTTP request gives you the ability to use JSON files with web servers, and you can display them or use them. So it's kind of weird. So I tried my best to break up an example. So W3 Schools had a big example, so I broke it up. So I'll show you at the end kind of what it looks like. But starting off here, I kind of aligned it with this. So you notice in this one where it says XML HTTP equals new request, you have to create the object for the request. And then you need to create an object for the text file that you're going to use. So that's that second step. This is really weird, but XML needs to know if your document is ready to accept it. And once it is, you're going to assign it. You're going to pass that variable to a function. So it's right here. So this variable is going to be equal to what you're parsing. So it's kind of good when we're parsing stringify because they're very related. So once you've parsed your document, you can throw it into this function. And then you need to use these commands to get and send. And so that's how you either get it from a URL or you send it. This is what it was required to do that. So then the next part is kind of a little bit more weird. So in the first one, we pass it to a function. And so once you pass it to the function, you have to loop through your array to display it, if that makes sense. And then once you make an object for this part, and then you need an object for the loop. You loop through it, and then you can assign it to an object. So if you come back up here, you notice we have a div ID ID01. We assigned it to that object. In the end, it looks like this. This is what it looks like on the page, and this is what it looks like in total. Kind of weird. XML is very specific, but that's kind of how you use an HTTP request. So you can basically get JSON files and then display them. It's using the parsify and stringify. Any questions about that or anything?
So I have very little experience with JSON. That was my last week in my Java class. And so I guess my limited experience is just wondering what's the difference between JSON and XML?
So JSON is an object notation. It's the way that JavaScript, or it's the syntax for JavaScript to store objects and exchange data between servers and everything. Whereas XML is a language, it's a markup language. So it's kind of like, I have to remember how to describe it. It always confused me. Um, it's kind of like HTML. It's a different version of HTML.
I have
Okay.
one of my slides in my presentation. I kind of explained what the difference is between them, so I can explain it a little bit more on my presentation too.
Okay, I didn't want to go too into it because we're both doing it, so I just wanted to go over the basics and then kind of have him cover the rest.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's
I gotta run out for a couple minutes. I'll be right back.
no problem. Yeah, XML is just weird. Like I said, either you're going to use it or you won't. I don't even know that many people that do use it, but I did not like it. I'll tell you that much.
Is that the only way to get like information from the internet though? Like to get, because I used this in a different class where it was like I was pulling like weather data from a URL, and so we used these requests to get it, and then I displayed it on my own web page. Is that the only way to do something like that, or is there a different way, and that's why people don't always use it?
Depends on the language. XML is just one way of doing it.
Oh, okay.
So, like, there are multiple ways. This is kind of one way, but if you're doing XML, there's kind of a few ways. This is the most used way, I think.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'd say like if you have a ton of data, like you definitely want to use a database to store it. And so I'd say most of the time you're like retrieving data from a database, which would be different from JSON.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
That's also what I was saying. Like, depends on your job, whatever they have set up. So.
Yeah.
Anything else? I can move on to Kyla. If you guys are all done.
Yeah. Okay. Am I good to stop it?
Could be.